Good morning. We'll call today's Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Keys.
Here.
Vice Chair Sonier. Alderman Browning.
Present.
Alderman Aldridge.
Present.
Chair Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Vice Chair Sonier. We have 6 present. We have a quorum.
All right, with that, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025.
So move.
It was moved by Alderman Aldridge and seconded by Alderman Browning that we accept the approval of the minutes for Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sonier. Alderman Browning. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
Chair Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sonier. We have 6 aye votes.
Great. With that, we'll move forward in the agenda, and we will recognize Alderman Aldridge for Board Bill number 107.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the HUD's Committee. Good morning and Happy New Year. First HUD's Committee meeting of 2026. Today, I present to you Board Bill 107. This is the extension of a current SID that is located at the 1100 block of Wash Ave. It is already a current SID, but we're extending it further down the block. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, I do have 2 people here to be able to give more details on the extension and the importance of extending this SID out.
Great. If you want to go ahead and call them up.
Just say your first and last name.
Good morning, and if you can both raise your right hands and swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Robert Clark. I'm an attorney with Armstrong Teasdale. Here on behalf of 5 of the 6 property owners that have executed the petition to amend the existing 1100 Washington Avenue Community Improvement District by expanding the boundaries and adding an additional project. Those 5 property owners that I represent are all affiliates of Oliver Properties. Mr. Craig Heller of Oliver Properties is also here today on behalf of those property owners. We filed a petition with the City Register back on September 18th, 2025, and this is the required public hearing required by the Community Improvement District Act on that petition. For the record, first, I have several documents that I want to offer to the clerk. We have the affidavits of publication in the St. Louis American showing that notice.
Excuse me, Mr. Robert, could you speak into the mic, please? We
Sure,
want to
sorry
hold
about
it and
that.
make it easier for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. We have the affidavit of publication in the St. Louis American, which establishes the notice of publication being published. We've got the U.S. Postal Service certified mail return receipts as evidence that the property owners within the district received certified mail notice of the public hearing today, as well as the affidavit of publication from the clerk of the Board of Aldermen showing that the notice was posted here at City Hall. So to offer those 3 items for the record. As I indicated, this petition does amend the previously filed petition that was submitted in 2009. This community improvement district was established by ordinance 68436, approved by the Board of Aldermen July 27, 2009. The petition before the committee today, and as part of Board Bill 107, seeks to alter the boundaries of the existing district to add 8 additional parcels of property, to add an additional project that is estimated at $500,000 over the next 5 years, to extend the term of the district, which currently expires in 2049. This would extend it to 2053, so 4 more years. And it clarifies the existing determination of blight that was made back in 2009, does not alter that determination whatsoever, and it reaffirms the current term of the Board of Directors that currently serves on the CID board. As I indicated, there are 3 parcels that are currently within the district, owned by 2 property owners. And again, we're adding 6 additional properties, so a total of 8 would be in the district. We do have a boundary map. It's in the packet on page 38 of your PDF, but we can distribute that as well, which shows the existing boundaries as well as the additional properties to be added along Washington Avenue. And the idea is that it will start to take up most of the additional block, both in the 10,000 block as well as some of the 11,000 block. The City Register and the City Council's office have both confirmed the petition meets the requirements of the CID Act. It's been signed by 75% of the property owners within the district, and it represents petitioners represent 95% of the total assessed valuation of the proposed expanded boundaries of the district. At this point, just to clarify, the additional project is really to seek to support business activity and economic development within the district. When I'm completed my presentation, Craig Heller will talk a little bit more about the vision for that project. And as I indicated, we're looking to extend the term of the district for another 4 years, and not changing anything about the original determination of blight. That would remain the same. That's pursuant to a Chapter 99 Ordinance 60939 that was adopted prior to the formation of the original CID. I'll turn it over to Mr. Heller to give a little presentation on the timing and the scope of the additional project.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I think Rob did a good job of explaining the technical side and the legal side of this effort. Yeah, I'm sorry, Craig Heller with Oliver Properties. You may have heard about Oliver Properties and our efforts along Avenue. So we've been investing heavily along the corridor. We've purchased over, I think, 8 properties, invested about $120 million in the last 2 years. These are mixed-use, multifamily buildings that we improve the units, amenitize the property, and bring really good management to it so that these properties can compete for tenants again, as they're getting pretty tired. But our effort really goes well beyond just buildings. We're taking more of a holistic approach. So we're working to activate street-level spaces along Wash Avenue where there's been a lot of vacancy. We're also working on the street itself with getting new street trees planted and maintaining them, working on sidewalk repairs and replacing bad street lights, that type of thing. So it's really about trying to build a comprehensive, complete neighborhood. And that's where this SID comes in. None of these dollars that are collected by the SID will go into any of our buildings and the improvements we're making. It's all about doing things with our partners in the community, the restaurants, the retailers and such, where we can do joint marketing efforts and events and things that will really help rebuild Wash Avenue as a vibrant place. So I appreciate your consideration with this. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Have anyone else you want to speak? Okay. Would you like for us to ask our questions now or wait for it's a public comment?
We can do public comment then.
Okay. If there's anyone that's signed up to speak on Board Bill 107, can you raise your right hand? I can do it all at the same time. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Yes, thank you. All right, we can go ahead and start with the list.
Mr. Conley.
Good morning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, members of the committee. Thanks for the opportunity to testify today. I am actually testifying with undecided on this bill, depending on what changes may be made prior to it being voted upon. So my first point is, and I've mentioned this before on other bills, even though this is not a site specific to one location, one development, I still feel that the City of St. Louis needs representation on the board. My suggestion would be to have someone appointed from the Board of Aldermen, someone appointed from the Comptroller, and somebody appointed maybe from the Collector of Revenue. I don't think anyone, it's, again, SLDC isn't involved here. I don't think anyone from SLDC should be serving on this board. Item of clarification, if when I'm finished my comments, was a new blighting study conducted to verify this area is still blighted? It would seem that in 17 years since the inception of the SID and the amount of investment done by Oliver Properties and by earlier developers prior to that, wouldn't that have alleviated the blight conditions? Let's see. Another thing in terms of the city accountability, many taxing districts do not submit their budget to the Board of Aldermen for approval on an annual basis. I don't know if that applies to the 1100 Washington Avenue SID, but I think it would be helpful to mandate in the ordinance. I mean, it's a state rule that people don't seem to follow, so I think having that included in the ordinance would be wise. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Do we have anyone online, Madam Clerk?
No, we do not.
Okay. All righty, we'll go ahead then and start with comments, questions. Alderman Cone?
No questions.
Alderwoman Schweitzer?
Thank you so much. Thank you for presenting and allowing me this opportunity to ask questions, Madam Chairwoman. The SID is in a few different SID boundaries, correct? Or how many SIDs overlap here, and what coordination does this SID have with those SIDs?
These boundaries are in the 1100 and 1000 blocks of Wash Avenue. So in that geography, you also have the larger downtown St. Louis SID, Community Improvement District, which is all about clean and safe. And so we partner with them on some things and coordinate our efforts. There's also, but they do not get into economic development. They don't get into some of the things that we'd like to do with marketing and building the Wash Avenue brand. And then there's another SID, the Washington Avenue SID. It's its DBA. It's really the downtown North SID. And their geography is a little different and goes further east. But they too are not really focused just on these two blocks and trying to build the Wash Avenue brand. So again, we partner with them. We try to work in lanes where things aren't, or they're not filled, and then coordinate our efforts best we can. So those are.
So this is a 1% sales tax that's existed since 2009. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just on the,
Can you
the
talk
smaller
about
parcels. Yeah.
Sure. Can you talk about some of the projects that you've completed in that time?
So we, the SID was put in place by the developer of the Vanguard and Copia buildings. We have subsequently purchased those in the last 2 years, and therefore the SID is in our hands now. I think of it, initially the SID was envisioned by the developer to help pay for project cost. We don't need that, and that's why we feel it's more important to put it into community efforts, and as opposed to our buildings themselves. So there's a lot of things that aren't being done that could really help Wash Avenue, and that's what we try to do with this SID.
So you can't speak to anything that the money has been spent on explicitly, just general project costs or debt, or?
Over
I
the
imagine
the
there's
last few years, there
significant amount of
hasn't.
money.
Over the last few years, there hasn't been much revenue from it, simply because, if there's no restaurants and such
Sure.
in the boundaries, there's no sales tax.
Okay. And there's a $500,000 project mentioned in the bill. Can you talk a little bit more about that specific project?
It's not a real estate project per se. It's more of this community effort. We're trying to revitalize this portion of Washington Avenue.
And you anticipate spending that on, you said marketing, or did you also say streetscape?
Most of the streetscape is being done by others. And so what this SID wants to do is really focus on the economic development part working with the restaurants and retailer on a joint marketing campaign, maybe some small neighborhood events and such that build the neighborhood again. Things that haven't been done in a while on Wash Avenue that we think will be very helpful.
So you anticipate using, is it sort of you're trying to use a 1% sales tax to get to a $500,000 amount? Can you just talk about that
Yeah,
overlap a little bit more?
That's obviously over some years. This
Sure.
thing, this isn't going to collect $500,000 in a year. It's not near that. So
Do you have any estimates for each year?
currently, we estimate this year, if the expansion goes through, it'd be somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000.
Okay.
Now, if more restaurants come, of course, that figure will grow.
How many storefronts is it that are empty?
We've got a couple in the Vanguard building. The Copia space is empty, although we're going to try to fill that with our food hall. The Meridian, there's 2 vacant there. There's a couple vacant in the Dorsa. So there's probably 6 to 8 that are vacant currently.
Okay. Thank you very much. Those are my questions for now.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Keys.
Thank you. I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Browning.
Thank you. So just to be clear, it's just the first floors of the building that are included in this SID?
That's correct. In the expansion area, it's just the first floors. When the developer did the buildings, the Copia building, the Vanguard building, Vanguard is an 8-story building, he did include, and that's currently what the boundaries are, he did include the entire building, but the expansion area is just the first floor.
And so you said the downtown north SID and the downtown SID, which this overlaps with, mainly focus on streetscape, building improvements, that kind of stuff, but they cover a larger footprint.
Much larger, yeah.
And so this is more about marketing, and is the idea the marketing is going towards filling these vacant storefronts, or like how does this work? Is it offering discounts on rents, or getting, helping lure in businesses, or what's the kind of goal here?
It's not so much that, Alderman, that we're going to take dollars and feed it to potential new tenants. It's about having the existing ones and the ones we can add have get more volume, do more volume, because we're helping them with marketing and doing joint marketing, and seeing that part of Wash Avenue being seen as a place where a lot of people want to come. If you can build a district, more people will come, and more everybody will benefit, the folks out on the street. Right now, a lot of them are just trying to hang on by themselves, and we'd like to change that.
So it's about, drawing people to the area. Is it going to be used to, say, like throw street festivals, or is it more just like getting the word out to let people know that, hey, this area is active and we have businesses you should visit?
Yeah, it's social media, it's other types of marketing. We may do a small event or two, but it won't be anything major, because obviously dollars I mentioned won't pay for that. Now, if some of the other groups in the area want to partner on something like that, we may help with it. But again, it's trying to fill lanes that aren't being filled currently, and working with those other groups to get more done.
So part of my concern is, I think when I look at Wash Ave and the amount of investment that's been done there over the last 20 years or so, and don't get me wrong, I'm very, very appreciative of the work that Oliver Properties has done, and that there's a lot of progress that's been made there. But one thing that I've noted is that as the improvements got made, there didn't seem to be a budget for maintenance. And so a lot of the stuff that was installed a couple decades ago is starting to look pretty rough. And I'd love to see, kind of a refresh to help make that area seem like it's still being maintained at the level that I remember 15, 20 years ago. But is that what the downtown north SID and the downtown SID are focused on? And I just,
Well, when you say maintenance, are you talking about maintaining like the streetscape and all that, or the buildings themselves?
I think the streetscape,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we were fortunate years ago to be able to do, the various phases of the Washington Avenue streetscape improvements. Unfortunately, they weren't maintained well. So we also inherited a small transportation development district that also collects, but that's a little different. That's what we're using to spend dollars on the streetscape. So whether that's cleaning the sidewalks or planting new street trees or keeping them watered so that they actually live, things like that. Some sidewalk repairs, again, all in concert with the other partners in this forestry division and the street department. But we're trying to collectively bring that streetscape back to a point where it feels like it's somewhere you want to be. The larger SID has got a big mission because their geography is so big, but they also are only, like I said, clean and safe. So that mostly means the SID guides, the additional policing. They do the planters and the hanging baskets and the clean team. That's probably the big ones that I could think of. They don't plant trees. They don't do marketing. So there's some lanes we're trying to fill here if we can have the dollars available so that we can collectively bring the streetscape back, do the marketing so more people come, that's more revenue, and we can hopefully rebuild what was, what you remember was pretty strong years.
So the transportation development district that exists here is really what is where that money goes towards that streetscape. And is that, I guess what I'm looking at is I saw an audit report from about 2014, I think, that rated the TDD there as the performance as poor, saying that they weren't, documenting the expenses they were making properly, that there wasn't a lot of accountability. I want to make sure, and obviously when you look at the streetscape, that's evident too, right? That the money has not been spent. So I want this area to succeed. Like, I really want to make sure that there's investment going into everything from the streets to the beautiful buildings on Wash Ave.
Mm-hmm.
And this SID being added on to the others in order to create marketing. And you said it's expected to generate about 500,000 over
half a dozen years.
A half dozen years, but it goes out till 2053.
Yeah, there'll be, it'll continue. Those efforts will be necessary, I think, on a long term to try to, just like the Loop does and South Grand does, they all work together on marketing and things like that. So collectively, they have more of an impact. And speak to the TDD, we obviously weren't involved with the TDD in 2014. And back then, I don't know what they were doing, but I think the developer had hoped that would help just with his improvements. We, again, don't see that being necessary, so we're using the limited resources that come in from the TDD to plant a lot of trees and do things that really hopefully will start to make a difference on Wash Avenue.
Okay, thank you. That's all for my questions today.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Sonia.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just only have a few questions. They're very basic. All the properties that would be being added in, are they all carrying on their property taxes?
Yeah, as far as I know, they are.
And none of them are designated as nuisance or problem properties?
As what type of properties?
Like nuisance or problem properties?
Oh, no.
And the board, the board makeup, that's been the previous makeup of the board?
That's the current. What you see in there is the current makeup, which is there's five board members.
And these are just individuals who have roles, just roles within the operations of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's no like outstanding building code or health violation of the properties?
No, Oliver Property owns most of these. There's two that aren't, but those owners I've talked to, one is Joe Edwards, Dr. Hammond owns one of the spaces. Both are in favor of what we're doing because they definitely see the need. But no, there's
Everything is up to code?
right. There's some vacant buildings, so they're not, or vacant spaces on the first floor, so they'll need to be reoccupied and get new occupancy certificates and all that, but it's just the normal process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, did President Green? Okay, all right.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the HUD's committee for your question. Mr. Craig kind of said a lot. I think how this SID, on top of the other SIDs, can be able to benefit, especially when it comes to beautification. I know the goal, as I've talked with, very thankful for the work that Oliver Properties have done. Looking forward to the food hall that is coming to downtown. We don't have a lot of spaces like this. Hopefully it'll be like a mini foundry where people can be able to walk, explore, and continue to appreciate the positive of downtown. And I think hopefully with this expansion of the SID, this is not a new SID that we're creating. This is already an existing SID that these funds could be able to, as Mr. Craig said, be used to bring some beautification and do services that the downtown SID does not do, or that the North Side SID, which is a recent SID that was made, does not do. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, members of the HUD's committee, I would ask for your favorable consideration on Board Bill 107.
I'll accept a motion for Board Bill 107.
I make a motion that we pass Board Bill 107 with the due pass recommendation.
Second.
Second.
It was moved by Vice Chair Sanye and seconded by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard that we move Board Bill 107 with a due pass recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone. Aye. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sonier.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Present.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
Chair Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
We have 6 aye, 1 present.
Is President Green on the vote?
She's not online.
Okay, I just didn't want to make. Thank you. That will move forward in the agenda. Recognize Alderman Browning for Board Bill 1.
Hello, and thank you to the committee. So this is a bill that has been heard and passed before in this committee. It's actually an exact copy of Board Bill 83, which passed on November 19th. I reintroduced this bill as Board Bill 120 so that I could bring it back through committee to answer any questions, as well as have SLDC here to answer any questions. They weren't able to be there at the last committee. It's a unique funding mechanism, and so I just wanted to make sure that both the committee and the public got the right information and that we're being as transparent as possible here. So CI Select, if you remember from the last bill, is a furniture company that is looking to relocate from the county into the city, bringing 40 or so employees with the potential to grow. They are looking for to move into the old Carriage Works building on Laclede Avenue, which has been vacant for at least 12 years, but I think maybe even longer. This building sits in the Cortex district, but it is not utilizing the TIF that exists in that area for the rehab. Instead, we're aiming to bring this old Carriage Works building back into life by diverting half of the sales tax from the sales made by CI Select into an account that the comptroller will control. The comptroller will then reimburse the company for build-out costs of the space up to a cap of $1 million. So while this incentive is active, the city will continue to get the other half of the sales tax, as well as the earnings tax from the employees. Last time when I was in front of this committee, I incorrectly said that we were giving up the Cortex part of the sales tax, but I've since learned that it's a little more complicated than that. It's the city's sales tax that is being diverted into this reimbursement account, but while Cortex has activated the RPA of the TIF district where this is located, that half the sales tax will be considered surplus in the meantime until Cortex submits a detailed project plan that this board needs to approve. So at that point, half the sales tax will be diverted towards whatever project Cortex has if this board approves it. But in the meantime, the city will continue to get half the sales tax. And they'll also be continuing to get the earnings tax that was never going. After this incentive reaches the $1 million cap, which we expect that this business will get to quickly because they're selling high dollar products. They sell office furniture to companies like hospitals and schools. And so they sell a lot. Once they reach that $1 million cap, the city will get its half of the sales tax again. This incentive is really to help the company move into an old, historic, but abandoned building. The city would be foregoing $1 million of revenue that we wouldn't get if this company didn't move here. So this is really a benefit for the city and all of our taxing districts by helping revitalize an old building, moving a business from the county into the city, and bringing new employees into the city who will be paying that earnings tax. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I also have SLDC here to answer any questions, as well as the owner of the company, Claire Erker, who has very graciously joined us again to answer any questions. Thank you for your time, and at this time, I'll yield.
Thank you, Alderman Browning. Did you want any of them to come up and speak first, or do you want to move to? Okay. All right. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment for Board Bill 120?
Yes, we have 2 people.
Okay. Yeah. Raise your right hand, swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you. We can please
Our first
proceed.
speaker is Dan Pate.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to come. I guess I misunderstood. This was I thought it was a earnings tax reimbursement program, only sales tax. So then, do the real property taxes and the 50% of the EATs, the earnings and activity taxes, go to the TIF in Cortex, or is that going to the city as well? I'm not understanding exactly what goes to the city and what doesn't go to the city to be reimbursed to the owner. A couple things. The last time that this was done, the SLDC managed the reimbursement, not the comptroller's office, so I'm not sure if the agreement's going to be managed through SLDC. They had an automatic passive approval process. So a request for reimbursement would be submitted, and after 30 days, if it wasn't disputed or any questions asked, that was automatically approved. So if you can imagine a request coming through for someone's reimbursement to be paid by the earnings tax or sales tax or whatever taxes would be going to the city. If that sits on Otis's desk for 31 days, or if we transition to a new executive director of SLDC, there could be shuffling and expenses that don't get reviewed get reimbursed. So I would hope we could put a non-passive, non-automatic approval process on the reimbursement here, and have somebody able to look at the receipts, verify the costs that they're valid, and I think that should be done through a Board of Aldermen committee or somebody that that is accountable to the public, since this is public money that's going to be going to a private company. And if somebody could answer, is Cortex participating in a reimbursement of their portion of economic activity taxes, or is this going back to IDA, who's the holder of the TIF notes now, for the majority of the Cortex district? The mechanisms are a little bit hazy, so I would appreciate some clarity on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just want to see if we can get a quick, we typically don't do it like this, but those were great questions. We want to make sure we get them answered.
My name is Mark Spikerman. I'm outside counsel at SLDC. Do I need to be sworn in, or? Okay. And if I forget to answer one of your questions, just interrupt me and let me know. This incentive only refers to the sales tax generated by the project. Earnings tax, property taxes, not affected. It is in one of the RPAs of the Cortex District. It's one of the RPAs that were activated most recently, and the redevelopment agreement that applies there says that those revenues will be surplused, meaning they'll be treated as if there wasn't a TIF until such time as Cortex has a detailed project proposal. So for the time being, that means property taxes flowing to the city, the school, just as if there were no TIF, earnings taxes flowing to the city, just as if there were no TIF. Once the Cortex does some development within that redevelopment project area, then it would start acting like a TIF again, and you'd see property taxes and 50% of the economic activity taxes TIF and used to reimburse Cortex and sub-developers for redevelopment project costs. Mr. Pate mentioned IDA notes. This has nothing to do with any existing notes or bonds relating to the Cortex, all totally independent. Is there anything else? Oh, the passive approval process. Yes. Similar to pretty much all redevelopment agreements in the city and honestly elsewhere in the state, and in general fairness to our companies, there is a provision in here that says if the city doesn't proactively review the invoices, and they do have to provide invoices and detailed estimates, then it is deemed approved after 30 days. We see that again with the city's TIF projects and other items. It's generally done administratively. I haven't been aware of any issues with it.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing us to get those answers on record. Is there anyone online signed up to speak?
We have none.
Alderman Cone? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Conley. You can come on up.
Okay. Members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify again. It would really be helpful if the legislation spelled out really clearly the issues that Mr. Payton and Mr. Spikerman's response, because it really, Board Bill 83, the original version, did not spell that out. I have to admit that I haven't read current 120 in the complete form. There's a spreadsheet that you've got to zoom in on to read as one of the exhibits that does reference TIF, and there's one paragraph that references TIF. But again, it would have been very helpful to have that clarified really clearly in the legislation that this is in the St. Louis Innovation District, TIF, RPA, can't remember, 4 or 8. And, because of this bill, we're kind of, I don't know, it feels like we're setting it up to benefit the Cortex TIF when I don't think incentives are necessary for this particular company to move into the city. The company representative testified during Board Bill 83 that some of the salespeople, earn, $300,000 a year, and for a net benefit to the company of $1 million, I really don't think that makes the difference as an incentive. A logistical item, the notice for this meeting, the agenda that's linked on the website as of like 8:30 this morning, the agenda that's linked only includes 107. It doesn't include Board Bill 120, which is only on the calendar notice with the summary. So technically speaking, I kind of think you should hold this bill today and then have it, on an agenda at a future meeting and properly noticed. let's see, what are the other? I agree with Mr. Pate on the fact that there should be a non-passive approval process whereby city officials review those submissions from the company proactively, and the approval is the city officials signing off on it, rather than the potential for 31 days to elapse and then the reimbursement happens automatically. I think those are the main points. So I encourage you to hold the bill today so it's properly noticed. I do want to thank Alderman Browning as the sponsor for clarifying the deficiencies in the previous bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Okay. All right, Alderman Browning, I do have one question that got flagged that we'd like to have it answered. And maybe SLDC. Will SLDC be ensuring the compliance on your bill and collecting and auditing the certified payroll? This is noted in the, I think it's Exhibit E, I think was said.
Yes, there is a, the board bill approves a development and performance agreement, and within that agreement, there's a requirement for an annual compliance report filed by the company. And that report goes to SLDC.
So it will all fall under, all the prevailing wage will fall under the compliance and the reporting. Oh,
Yeah, the comptroller will also have a role with finances.
okay. All right, thank you so much. Alderman, you said no questions, right? Okay. Alderwoman Schweitzer?
Thank you. I appreciate the chance to ask questions and the presentation to clarify some of the things that were maybe not as clear at the last iteration of the board bill. I do appreciate this sort of structure in which they have to show the receipts before the money comes to them. And I think that is a really good structure and answers some of the questions that we all have whenever there are sort of incentive projects that occur without having the ability for the city to see what's being spent on until the budget gets turned in, if the budget gets turned in, with some of these other ways that incentives happen. So I think I asked most of my questions in the last meeting about this topic, and I have no further questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Keys?
No, I don't have any other questions, but thank you, Alderman Browning, for bringing this issue back to the table for further discussion. Thank you.
Alderman Aldridge?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Echo my colleagues. Thank you, Alderman, for bringing this back for the clarity. Just one more time for the record. So in board bill, was it 82, 83? 83. The funding mechanism for it was half of the funds that was generated from the TIF would kind of be reimbursed. Could you talk about that mechanism in this one just one more time? It's a unique one, which I'm glad you're not tapping into the earnings tax, but the previous one that is being held on the third read calendar, and then this new one that looks like it'll be from city sales tax.
Yeah, so functionally, literally, reading the bills, there is no difference between the two bills. The mechanism is the same in both. It is simply that when 83 was before the committee, I missed, and that's what I wanted to bring it back through committee to correct. And since it was on third reading, it's a little difficult after it's been perfected to send it back to committee. So I just decided to reduce it, and it makes more sense that way with our structure. But the way the mechanism works is it diverts half of the city's sales tax into this reimbursable account that the comptroller controls. So speaking of there should be an elected representative reviewing this, there is. The comptroller's office will be reviewing these expenditures, authorizing the reimbursement based off of their judgment on if it's a eligible cost. they will get 1% from this for their troubles. So that amounts to about maybe $1,500 a year. And I talked to the comptroller's office back when we first did 83, and again yesterday about this bill, and their office is supportive and ready to do this.
Yeah. And I remember, just so we're on the record, last time we talked, I know you mentioned that, this would be bringing jobs where it'd be around 85,000, and then found out that that would be the average. So that there are, I think to one of the speakers that spoke, there are people that will be making maybe roughly 100-something thousand, and there will be low-wage workers making 45,000, and with all those employees, it would average up to 85. So there's going to be some people making some big bucks and some folks on the lower end that will add up to 85,000. So this isn't each person that will be working this facility will be making 85,000, correct?
That's correct. That's how the average works. It's I believe last time, and Claire, if you'd like to clarify, I believe the lowest salary that they pay is around.
You have to speak to the mic, ma'am.
And you could introduce yourself.
Claire Erker, CEO of CI Select. So we probably have 3 people that are between 45 and 50. From there, I would say we're at 60 to 65 and above.
And the highest makes about?
The highest would be our sellers, and that's a complete variable. It's a straight commission-based salary. So they can be anywhere from 80 to, on a really good year, 350, but it's solely based on what they're selling.
Gotcha. And I guess my concern, and I've brought this to the alderman before the meeting and said he'll get some answers or figure out what needs to be scratched out. The reimbursement project cost. So on page 2, I guess, of the agreement, things that could be potential reimbursement. And maybe there's also a SLDC question. When we do these incentives, and I know this is a new one, have we ever, I guess, what concerns me is the C, being able to reimburse for professional services, including but not limited to architecture, engineer, legal, marketing, finance, planning, or special events. It seems like we'll be reimbursing for one of the things, I think, marketing. So we're giving you guys back to do like free marketing or legal services. Can you, professional service, whatever that is, could you explain?
Yes, I'm happy to address that. If you look into the intro of that definition, it says in connection with the work, and then the work is further defined as actually building the building out. So when you look at legal, architectural, engineering, marketing, that's all has to relate to the actual construction of the project. It's not, putting up a sidewalk sale or something. It's like marketing would be putting up a coming soon sign because we're building a project that's coming soon. Legal, there's all sorts of legal aspects involved with construction contracts and negotiation of this agreement. Architecture, again, designing the building. It all has to relate back to the actual project.
Like the build out.
Yep.
Is that like typical, I guess, that we do it, or these items or in typical like development incentive packages where these are used in other development?
Yeah, this is a pretty standard definition used.
Okay, I think at the moment that's all I got.
Vice Chair Sanye.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Members of the committee. Alderman Browning, can you just talk a little bit about the history of performance agreements and, kind of why this specific form was chosen?
That's probably a good question for SLDC. I know that at least the history, how this came to me is that they came and said, the company wants to move to St. Louis, but this space that they're going to move into is old, falling apart, and it needs to be built out. And so it's kind of expensive for places to move into old buildings in St. Louis. It's much cheaper to move into like a newer construction spot out in the county. And so they said, what can we do to help this company make these costs work? And I said, I'd prefer not to give away the earnings tax, because to me, getting jobs in St. Louis means getting that earnings tax. So SLDC went back to the table and found a different mechanism to use here. And I think they did a pretty good job. I'm pretty proud of what we've created here, because it does create a nice reimbursable model that is very accountable, helps the company out, has a reasonable cap on it. We talked about the employees that might make upwards of 300 on commission. We should hope that they do, because then they'll pay off this. They'll reach that cap faster, and the city will benefit faster from this. If those sales go well, if this company does well, this incentive model should work itself out within 6-7 years, which is much faster than most of our incentive models usually work out. So that's kind of my history and how we came to it. But if you all would like to share any more about how you arrived on this particular incentive model, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Zach Wilson, SLDC. We don't usually use this incentive model. That's why we have Mr. Spikerman speaking on our behalf for the most part here. Doesn't go through any of our boards also. As the clawback here on this one is very upfront. If they drop below 40 jobs, the incentive stops. So that's the performance model we have for this incentive. So it's pretty clear.
Mr. Wilson, can you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, sorry about that. It's pretty clear the clawback is anything under 40 jobs, the incentive goes away. And that's why we chose that performance. It's very upfront. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm not sure if it'll be Alderman or Mr. Wilson, but can one of you all speak to the process, the passive approval or non-passive approval that was mentioned in public comment?
Passive approval on which aspect?
I think they were saying that the way that their previous understanding was that if it was kind of automatically receipts and things were put into a system and it disputes, then it automatically goes through.
Yeah. Following completion of the project, the company will have to submit a certificate of reimbursable project costs with copies of all invoices and other evidence of payment, lien waivers, everything all grouped together. The city, SODC, and the comptroller's office then have 30 days to review it and provide any objection. If they don't provide any objection in 30 days, it's deemed.
And the city is the city comptroller, the city is SLDC, who's reviewing in that 30 days?
Zach, I believe someone in your office looked at things, and then I'm not sure who in the comptroller's office.
I can't speak for the comptroller, but it would be myself or Madeline Swanstrom in our compliance department on my side. But on the comptroller's office could be someone under Ryan Coleman, perhaps.
And I'll note, I represent cities across the state on projects like this. This is 100% across the state done at the administrative level by staff, not by elected officials.
In terms of just the viability, so I think like my understanding is basically the way that this will work is typically, I know when we do a TIF, we give 50% that goes to the TIF, that is for improvements within that TIF parameter, and then the other 50% typically goes to the city. This is proposing that 50% that would usually go to the city, instead you all are eligible to get reimbursed with, instead of it going to the city, up to the $1 million. Okay, I'm trying to explain that well, because I know people at home have questions. So I hope that answers it and explains it as best I can, because I definitely got some questions, but I think they just don't typically understand the nature. So I'm just trying to explain to the public that the way that it works, and this is usually the way it works for all TIFs, anytime you see a TIF approved, is they have a parameter. 50% of those funds go into, you can say, sort of an account that can be used for anything kind of improvements within that parameter at the discretion of the folks who are, within that TIF district. And then the other 50% traditionally goes to the city. In this case, this business is saying, hey, for all the things that are listed in our performance agreement, which the Alderman of the 14th mentioned, we would actually like to be reimbursed for that up to $1 million instead of it going to the city. And SLDC is saying we support that because we support the creation of the 41 jobs that will have an average of $85,000.
So I'm sorry, and I know I will have constituents that are going to follow up if that's not confusing, but I'm trying to explain it as best I can and put it in layman's terms as best I can, because I do know that these things are like can be complicated, nuanced over folks' heads. So I just hope that that explains it, but I know my residents will definitely ask me more if they have more questions. But along those lines, was there consideration at one point of taking the 50% from the TIF district side instead of the city's side of the sales tax?
So we would have to get the Cortex district's approval to do that. And at this time, they're saving that for an infrastructure project sometime in the future. That, of course, in order for that to happen, for them to use that 50% towards that infrastructure project, they would have to submit a detailed project plan to this board that we then have to approve. So my question for them is going to be, when they come, how is that infrastructure project being a benefit to the whole city? Because I think that's the question that will need to be answered. When we're looking at this, though, until they submit that detailed project plan, that 50% that would typically go to the TIF will be declared surplus and actually come to the city. So this is a good situation where we're going to continue to do that until this board action.
I'm just looking at this model. So just so I'm clear, the clawback language in the bill is really just around the fact if they drop below that threshold for the jobs, that's the clawback in this bill.
The jobs or if they for some reason leave the building.
And Alderman Browning, you're saying that the TIF folks, you kind of did have a conversation, but they indicated that they want to save those funds for an infrastructure project soon to be announced, basically.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily soon, but probably in the next few years. So, like I said, if we do this model and it goes 6-7 years and they have good sales, the incentive model will be paid off by that point. We'll hit that $1 million cap, and all future sales tax revenues of our half will come to the city.
But you said you're unclear. Your question for them is if they're the infrastructure improvements they're proposing are specifically within the TIF parameter, or if they're larger than that?
Oh, no, they'd have to be in the TIF parameter. But what I'd say is my question for them when they bring that detailed project plan forward is just how that improvement benefits the city. Like, is it, making improvements to the street like we were just talked about with Wash Ave, where it's going to be of better benefit, where it's going to bring more business. If you're familiar with this block right now, there's not a lot going on this block. It's a few warehouses. The supply division has a building there, and the police have their repair garage there as well. So there's several vacant lots that are just nothing's going on. So I think when Cortex looks to develop this, they'll have a plan that they'll bring forward, but I can't speak to that now because I haven't seen it.
And I see in the model that we have, it shows that, like model number 1, if there's $20 million in revenue, about $137,500 per year is what they'd be reversed in. Model 2 is if there's $420 million in revenue, that's about $172,000, which would the reimbursement would be about 5.5 years. I'm just curious from you all, and I know you are a business, and so obviously everything is economic and changes. But my concern is knowing that in 6 to 8 years, you guys will likely have hit your $1 million cap. What is you all's commitment to staying in the city beyond that once that cap is reached?
Good question. I hadn't thought about it, but I would have no plans to move out of the city if it's working for us, which I have all the confidence in the world it would. And I think I mentioned this the last time. My plan is also, we've got a 50,000 square foot warehouse in our city, and that lease is up in 2 years. So my plan would be to move that to the city as well, so we're in a closer proximity to our warehouse as well. So once we're here, I don't see us leaving. I mean, my hope is we're sort of at the cusp of this area taking off, and that we're going to be a part of it growing, and it just is going to get better and be more bold in 8 to 10 years.
6 to 8 years reimbursement is really solid, but I just wondered too, when you guys were discussing your model, did you ever talk about the idea of spreading $1 million, like $100,000 over 10 years so that you would be here for 10 years? And it might be a SLDC question, but I guess My concern is just if we go through with this, I can understand the benefit and plus, but I just would imagine for members of the public that obviously you can't really have a business commit to staying beyond the period because who knows like what could happen. But I just am curious about what assurances or protections we have as a city, and you know how did that waiver into you all's decision making of this?
There is a second clawback. I'll let Mr. Spikerman speak on that. If they do leave early, there's a penalty for that. So I'll go into great detail.
I was just going to reference their lease.
Could you get on the mic?
Their lease is for 10 years. So
Okay.
They will be there, and then the clawback would be they'd have to pay back a certain amount if they left early. But I think all signs are that they would be intending to stay and even intending to bring more here.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, are there anyone signed up online for Board Bill 1?
We have none.
You're welcome to close.
Well, thank you for the questions. I think they're really good questions. I appreciate everyone's patience and bringing this back before the committee again. This is good work we're doing, and I just ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you. With that, I'll accept the motion for Board Bill 120. I move that we pass Board Bill 120 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It was moved by Chair Clark Hubbard and seconded by Alderman Cone. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Aye. Aye. Did you get that? Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sonier.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
Chair Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
We have 7 aye votes.
With that, you successfully passed Board Bill 120. Are there any resolutions for review?
We have none.
Any committee discussions?
We have none.
Any written testimony?
We have none.
Any announcements? All right, all members were present this morning, so with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
It was moved by Vice Chair Sanye and seconded by Alderman Cone. That we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a blessed day.